Let's go to James in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live. James. Hello.
Mark.
James.
Hey, Mark.
James.
I thought it was ironic that you yesterday advised Johnson to pay his registration if Johnson is so worried about driving around his old Fairfield County stomping grounds.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
I think it was he had some kind of outstanding ticket or something.
From Connecticut?
For Connecticut, yeah.
It had to do with, I think, his registration, ironically. That being because, speaking of being made fun of, Mark, while you were away, I called in Free Talk Live to advise somebody to do just the same, and I was called a bootlicker, and somebody unitlessly hung up on me and then made more fun of me because
I've been called a bootlicker multiple times on the show. Ian, go ahead and call me a bootlicker again.
I'm not calling you anything.
But I'm just telling you that I get called that.
The same thing you advised somebody to do that is another co-host of yours. I advised another co-host of yours to do the same thing, and another co-host of yours called me a bootlicker. But I know Ian hasn't got Shack Attack kind of money, so I won't bother with taking him to court for all the other cowardly and unitless things he likes to. Because I just want to call in and take issue with you guys about certain things. Just like I won't call that same person I'm talking about didn't call your views sickening, even though you defended the Pentagon attacks because it's a legitimate military target. Even though Ian seems to forget about all the women and children that were murdered at the Pentagon, because what you call a legitimate terrorist
Dave,
attack.
it sounds like you give other people a lot of power over you. Oh, excuse me, James. I'm sorry about that.
Derek J, I just want somebody, speaking of white lies is what I called in about. You don't seem to be affected at all that I just rightfully called your roommate a liar. He's a two-face and a coward. Literally. But I just want to talk to Mark about certain issues. But if you want to talk about other issues and just glance aside the fact that
what emotion are you feeling right now, James?
Your roommate, anger. That's the meme that you guys all
Have you ever considered the idea that you might be addicted to the emotion of anger?
Let me put it this way, Derek J. You guys, one of your high virtues is non-aggression.
Yes.
If you were ever to call me anti-gay or anti-immigrant or
that would be accurate.
Bootlicker to my face, like I advised you yesterday, Derek J. You should never pick on somebody smarter than you because they'll make fun of you even more.
You shouldn't pick on anybody.
I'll make Ian go home and cry if he ever made fun of me in a non-aggressive way.
Do you think you're addicted to anger?
If you were ever to insult my integrity or my intelligence or my person,
all right,
Derek J.
Do you want to have a conversation, James? Because Derek's trying to actually ask you a question. You're just ranting.
Ian, why don't you just say I'm sorry for once?
For what?
You can't because you're not really a minister either.
I'm sorry for what,
you?
James?
You're not a real minister, are you, Ian Freeman or Ian Bernard?
What do you want an apology for?
See, what I think is happening is James is addicted to anger.
Why don't you live up to Free Talk, Derek J, for Christ's sakes? Don't lie.
This is a phenomenon, and it has to do with the last call as well.
Hold.
Dave called in just moments ago. He was upset. I think he's another person who's addicted to anger. I think that when
they
people
feed on it.
Yeah, well, when people use this, Mark brought it up as a coping mechanism for 30 years.
I've been wrong.
It becomes a default, and it becomes something that people go to when they don't know what to do. They just become angry, or they become sad, or they feel like they're a target. And I think that's what's happening with James and Dave.
All right, we'll come back with more. I'm going to hang on to James here on this one because I want to know, what does he want an apology for exactly? For me calling him a bootlicker? He was probably licking some boots at the time. I don't even remember the incident. It's Free Talk Live. Against my better judgment, I have decided to hang on to James in Arizona through the break. He's a chronic caller who calls not quite nightly, and actually he started calling Peace News Now during your live shows.
Yeah, almost every episode at the end.
So, of course, Peace News Now airs on Tuesdays and Sundays on LRN.FM, so folks who want to get more Derek J can go and do that, and folks who want more James can now listen to Peace News Now, and James is back with us here in a moment. As we bring back James in Arizona, James, one of the difficulties that I have with your calls is you're constantly focused on what has happened to you. That, like Dave, who, by the way, you don't like. We put you and Dave in New York on the phone line together once. And,
Can we stop now? Can we stop wasting my time about Dave?
well, I just won't waste your time at all then. Goodbye. 855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free number. You can bring up absolutely anything that you want. What I was going to say is that James is... the issue I have with James is that when he calls in, he references things that are not immediate. He talks about things that have happened to him in the past where he feels that he's been wronged or perhaps wrongfully accused of having a particular position or having his position misrepresented. And then he jumbles them all together in this sort of stream of consciousness thing where he just talks about several different things. Derek, you tried to ask him a question and have a conversation. He just, kept on going off.
Yeah, I want to talk about emotions. Where are his emotions at? I think they help lead us to make decisions, and he was clearly angry, and maybe we could get to the root of that and then find the source, and then he could have happiness and
But
peace.
He's loving it. He's enjoying being angry, obviously. He doesn't want to... Well, to him, it's not a problem, right?
It's satisfying in a way, but I don't think he would say he's loving it. There's people are satisfied or satiated by the emotion that they're addicted to.
It's like scratching a mosquito bite.
Right.
It might feel good for a moment, but then it it has its downsides.
Right.
I think that James has a lot to say. I think
he's actually likely the person calling our backline right now in the studio.
I think that he would probably be best served with his own talk show. Right? Like, I think, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, it would be hilarious.
I would be happy to sell him low-cost podcast ads so that people, because I know there's a built-in audience. People on our Facebook page, there's one guy today said, I actually fast forward to hear James's calls.
It's so funny. You really can't please everybody, right?
No,
Some people complain
not.
about James. Like, I hate it when James calls in.
He's a heel on this show, right? Like, he's the when in the wrestling match,
the foil, the bad guy,
the guy that comes in with the mask and everybody goes boo, yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, on his own show, he wouldn't have whatever he wouldn't have that other side. Now, he doesn't have the sort of built-in audience. James doesn't have maybe a couple handful of people that, he knows. He's like, listen to me, call in and listen to how horribly they treat me or something like that. Yeah. That might be interesting. But on his own show, he would be then the protagonist instead of the antagonist. And I really think that this guy's just basically, because this man could monologue for 3 hours. He could.
James versus the world.
There you go.
I think he should co-host.
Wit versus the world, I think is what he should call
Let's have him co-host with Dave. I think we should put Dave and James on the same show together.
I think that you're just being mean, honestly. I think
it'd be hilarious.
We should give Dave the telephone number so that he can then call into James's show. But
I like where you're going, at least putting his anger towards something more productive, right? At least if he were producing his own show, other people who are angry could resonate with that. They could enjoy the material, and they could have a little bit of happiness.
Well, we do have both Dave and James's phone numbers, so we could put them in touch with one another.
I don't see any reason to do that. No.
Making the world a worse place.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.